conference call. May I know who is the call today?
हरे कृष्ण भगवती वसुधा माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय। प्रीतिदासी फ्रॉम शार्लोट। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Arvindas Prabhuji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, and to all the assembled devotees. This is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Padmasaki Devidasi from Florida.
Hare Krishna, Padmasaki Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga, and all assembled devotees. Yashomati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashomati Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari.
Hare Krishna.
Would like to introduce the call.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all Guru Maharajas, all glories to all the assembled devotees. This is Sukhakar Krishnadas from Chennai. Thank you for allowing me to join the chanting group. Thank you very much.
Dr. Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. And my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gauranga. I am grateful to all the efforts of the Vaishnavas behind this Krishna Katha call every day in, day out. Thank you so much for the opportunity provided to neophytes like us. Learning a lot, not only from Krishna Katha by the direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but also the association of the Vaishnavas in this call. I'm really grateful for the mercy of Guru and Gauranga and to all of you. Vanishri from Bangalore, India. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vanishri Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call and giving your association and encouragement. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees on the call. This is Anita from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Varsha from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Varsha Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Guru Maharajas, all glories to the all assembled devotees. This is Shiromani Nandarani Devidasi from Krishna Katadesh. Hare Krishna.
Hare Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Okay, I welcome all of you again joining Bhakti Sangha.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. This is Pooja Arora from Haridwar.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavats Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shamagari Devidasi from Charlotte. I think Prabhuji had joined Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna Shamagari Mataji, Dandavats Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Okay, again, thank you everyone for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call for Srimad Bhagavatam class today. So today we are really fortunate to have His Grace Nityanand Charan Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam from verse 6.1.30 onwards. So before I hand over the call to Prabhuji, I would like to hand over the call to Tiffany Mataji to give a brief introduction on Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We are so happy to welcome today His Grace Nityanand Charan Prabhu. He is a practicing monk at Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Temple in ISKCON Chowpatty in Mumbai. Prabhuji is a visionary who wishes to revolutionize the current urban scenario by aiding people in leading a life of purpose, fulfillment, and satisfaction. He also specializes in guiding today's youth, including children and teenagers, to reconnect with their roots and lead a simple yet happy life. Coming from an army background, his childhood desire was to become an army officer, but Krishna had other plans for him and orchestrated his life beautifully. Life led him to fail the NDA interview despite being one of the best in the group to an engineer instead, and eventually becoming a monk when he was just 24. Nityanand Charan Prabhu specializes in making the sacred teachings of our holy scriptures simple so that they resonate with everyone and anyone. His message is simple. Spiritual life is not a life of rejection. It is a life of connection. We do not have to give up anything. We simply have to add this valuable dimension to our lives. His divine radiance can be felt far and wide. His discourses are heard in every major city in India and in more than 50 countries across the globe. Welcome to the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for that brief introduction. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving your valuable time and association to us. Enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you, Prabhuji. I hand over the call to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here to serve all the devotees, because mostly I am speaking to cultivate new people in Mumbai. So it's like a privilege to be able to serve the devotees. So do we put up the verse on the screen, or I just read from my...
Yes, Prabhuji.
Somebody's putting up?
Yes.
All right, I'll wait. All right, thank you. So do we follow the same system as I recite and somebody else will recite in chorus, or I just recite and just go ahead and speak on the verse?
You can just recite and go ahead, Prabhuji.
All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavati sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtiki Krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha Nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namah Tapta kanchana gaurangi radhe vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu sute devi pranamami haripriye. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, text number 30. Nishamya mriyamanasya mukhato harikirtanam bharturnama maharaja parshadaha sahasapatan. So the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear King, the order carriers of Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, immediately arrived when they heard the holy name of their master from the mouth of the dying Ajamil, who had certainly chanted without offense because he had chanted in complete anxiety. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks, Hari Kirtanam Nishamyapatan Katham Bhutasya Bhartur Nama Bruvataha. The order carriers of Lord Vishnu came because Ajamila had chanted the holy name of Narayan. They did not consider why he was chanting. While chanting the name of Hari Kirtan, Ajamil was actually thinking of his son. Chanting the Lord's name
Hare Krishna. I think Prabhuji's voice is breaking. Is this only for me or?
Yeah, it's breaking, Mataji.
It's breaking for everyone, Mataji.
the order carriers of Lord Vishnu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji got dropped off, Mataji.
Can everyone hear now?
Yes. Yes.
There is some issue with the Wi-Fi on this side. All right. So we'll continue. Just a second. Ajamil, however, did not glorify the form, qualities, or paraphernalia of the Lord. He simply chanted the holy name. Nevertheless, that chanting was sufficient to cleanse him of all sinful activities. As soon as the Vishnu Dutas heard their master's name being chanted, they immediately came. In this regard, Srila Vijayadhwaja Tirtha remarks, Anena putra sneham antarena prachina drishta balad udbhutaya bhaktya bhagavan nama sankirtanam kritam iti gyayate. Ajamil chanted the holy name of Narayan because of his excessive attachment to his son. Nevertheless, because of his past good fortune in having rendered devotional service to Narayan, he apparently chanted the holy name in full devotional service and without offenses. Hare Krishna. So just like we have the Bhagavad Gita, it is divided into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters, Karma Yoga, the last 6 chapters, Jnana Yoga, and the middle 6 chapters, which are the essence of Bhagavad Gita, are hidden between the 2 layers of first and the last layer. The essence, just like if we have a very precious jewel, we always hide it. We don't go around showing it to everyone. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam is also hiding this most important, most powerful narration right in the middle. It is in the 6th canto. Because Srimad Bhagavatam specifically manifested for the people of Kali Yuga. And if you see, in the beginning, the name of the Lord is glorified. The last verse of the Bhagavatam also glorifies the Lord's name, Nam Sankirtanam. And in the middle, we have this entire episode of Ajamil, and which is talking about the essence of all spiritual practices. And the proof is when Krishna himself personally came 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did he do? What did he offer? What did he give? He gave the holy name of the Lord. He came to propagate the chanting of the Lord's holy name, his own holy name. And that is the spiritual practice. When he was asked, what is the supreme spiritual practice? He always said, it is the chanting of the Lord's holy names. So this particular episode concerning Ajamil is a proof that when a person is totally disqualified, he has no qualification, when all other processes don't work, only the name of the Lord will work. And therefore, the verse says, Kriteya Dhihayato Vishnum Tretayam Yajato Mukhe Dwapare Paricharyayam Kalau Tad Hari Kirtanat. That in Satyuga, the process was meditation, because people were that peaceful and pious, more or less everyone was God-loving. They could sit for long. Therefore, tapasya was recommended, meditation on the form of the Lord. In Treta Yuga, the process became yajna, because people could not perform tapasya. Elaborate yajnas, huge expense, perfect chanting of the mantras. And we see when Dasharath Maharaj wanted a son, he did not go out to perform tapasya, he performed a yajna. In Dwapar Yuga, even that was not possible. So the process has become deity worship with punctuality, cleanliness, that was given priority. Kalau tad hari kirtanat. In Kali Yuga, none of these things will be effective because we do not have the qualification, necessary qualification to perform tapasya or yajnas. We don't have proper, knowledgeable, perfect priests to perform the yajnas. And naturally, punctuality and cleanliness is also gone in Kali Yuga. So we cannot understand the philosophy. Simple things we can't understand. Like the first thing Bhagavatam mentions is people in Kali Yuga have short lifespan, short memory. Intellectually, they are challenged. They don't understand simple things. Otherwise, they could just hear from the scriptures and follow the path, but even that is not possible. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended the chanting of the Lord's holy name, because the name of the Lord is so powerful that whoever we are, however fallen we might be, if we chant the Lord's name, whether we chant it attentively or inattentively, with love, without love, before taking bath, after taking bath, any time of the day, its potency remains the same. It is going to have its complete effect on us. Just like Ajamil. Now, he chanted Narayan. He was so sinful that his intelligence was completely covered due to his sinful activities. When a person engages in too many sinful activities, then his intelligence loses the ability to discriminate between right and wrong and cannot understand. Intelligence is required to understand the scriptural message also. But that's not possible because a person is sinful. So what is the hope? The hope is only the holy name. We find in the case of Mrigari, the hunter, the story comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. How fallen was he? Now, he was a hunter and he used to kill animals, but he was a very unique type of hunter. He used to kill animals, but kill them half. And then he would take pleasure. He would be ecstatic to see them dying, moaning in pain. That was his ecstasy. So you can imagine the kind of cruelty he must have cultivated in the previous lives, that he was born like that, to see somebody suffering, dying in pain, and then jump in ecstasy. What kind of cruel heart he must have had. But then Narad Muni, he saw him, and Narad Muni is a true saint. What is the quality of a saint? A saint is not judged by his saffron cloth or somebody who's living in monastery, ashram, or seems to be very renounced. The true hallmark quality of a saintly person is that he's paradukha dukhi. And without any cause, unconditionally, he is just concerned about the welfare of those who are suffering. That is a saint. So a family man can be a saint. Someone who is living in a ashram, he could also be a saint. So essentially, one does not become a saint simply by wearing the robes or living in a particular place. It is the quality, just like one does not become a Brahmana by simply being born in a Brahminical family, as Prabhupada used to say. One has to exhibit qualities. Just like one does not become a lawyer simply by wearing the uniform of a lawyer. One does not become a doctor by wearing the uniform of a doctor. One has to qualify himself. So similarly, Narad Muni is the greatest preacher. He is the commander-in-chief of the Lord's devotees, and he is the greatest worshipper of the Lord's name. Constantly he's reciting the Lord's name. And he gives instructions. Sometimes we see in the case of Prachetas in the 5th canto, he instructs them. But in the case of Mrigari, when he sees him, he feels pain in his heart, understanding that this person is going to suffer so much in future. He's killing these living beings, and over and above that, he's enjoying killing them and suffering. So he approached him and he said, this is not good. You should not. And he's a perfect preacher. You know, people have their own false ego. And when they are told that what they are doing is wrong, they should stop it, they may not accept it. And they may just close all the doors to their heart. But Narad Muni is an expert preacher, he knows. So first thing he tells Mrigari, he says, you know, why don't you kill them fully? Don't kill them half, kill them fully. So that way Mrigari became receptive because he was not being told to stop what he was doing. So that way he became kind of, okay, what next? If he was told stop it, it is not good, he would have just become very defensive. So he was told, why don't you kill them fully? So that way he became very receptive. Like Srila Prabhupada also said that when you go out to preach, you can tell people you are very nice, you can praise them, but once you have developed some relationship with them, you can tell them you are a big fool. Get out of this material life. This is not good for you. Because now they'll be ready to listen to you once they have developed faith. So Mrigari, in his case, Narad Muni followed the same example. And then he became receptive. Narad Muni said, you know, you're going to suffer so much for this, eternally in hell, because you're causing so much pain. And Mrigari said, but that's how I've been taught. This is my family occupation. How will I maintain my family? He was not ready to listen. Why? Because his intelligence was covered due to his sins. Therefore, he was not able to understand what Narad was trying to instruct. And finally, Narad Muni, because of his mystic powers, he showed him his future, how all those animals that he had killed, they were coming and tearing his body apart, shredding completely, and he saw himself dying in pain. That's when he got scared and he said, Narad Muni, I don't want to be like that in future. Tell me, what can I do? So Narada said, you'll have to listen to whatever I tell you. He said, I'm ready. He said, first of all, give up your bow. And that was like a big decision, because bow represents our attachments in life. And the bow represents sometimes the sources of our income, sources of our maintenance. We think this can save me, this is what is maintaining me. But when we come to spiritual life, that we are told, okay, you have to give up this, you have to give up that. But that is a test. When a guru tells us, okay, stop doing this. Now, if we have a false ego, then we might not accept it. We might just not say it externally, but internally we might feel, oh, how can I do this? But that's a test. Because in spiritual life, advancement or success is only dependent on one principle. It's not dependent on expertise, talents. It is simply dependent on one principle, and that is how sincerely we are trying to execute the instruction of our Guru, of our spiritual master. Whether we are successful or not, that's not important at all. How sincerely we are trying, that will fetch us the marks in spiritual life. That will fetch us Krishna's grace. So he agreed. His credit was that he agreed to what Narada said. He immediately gave up his bow. So Mrigari was ready, and then Narada Muni said, don't worry about your maintenance. I will make arrangements for that. That is also a big dilemma, a big false ego. People think that they are the maintainers of someone. And Prabhupada used to say, why do you worry about your maintenance? An elephant is also being maintained who is eating 50 kg in one go. And an ant who eats few grams is also being maintained. And they are not working, they are not going to the office. The Lord is maintaining them also. So why wouldn't he maintain a devotee who is trying to serve him, who is trying to come close to him? Why wouldn't he maintain a soul who is trying to remember him and come back to the forgotten path? So therefore, could we have all the mics off, please? It is disturbing in the middle. Please, thank you. So Narad Muni, as a guru, takes charge of his life. And he says, you just sit here and chant the holy names. He gives him the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then after instructing him, he leaves. And Mrigari starts following his guru's instruction. And to his surprise, every day, so many people start coming, learning that he's become a saint. He has given up his occupation that he previously used to follow. And they are giving him more than what he could eat in a day. After some time, Narad Muni revisits him with his dear friend Parvat Muni. And as soon as Mrigari sees Narad Muni from a distance, he runs to receive his guru. But as he's running, he's stopping in between, running left, running right. And then he goes in front of Narad Muni, pays full obeisances. At that time, Narad Muni asked him, why were you running like this in a zigzag manner? He said, there were so many ants on the way, so I couldn't step on them. Now, this is the same person who used to take pleasure in seeing these living entities dying in pain, suffering in pain, kill them half, and then see them suffer. And now he couldn't even step on an ant. This was a transformation which was caused by the association of Narad Muni, who gave him the ultimate weapon, because no instructions would work. Same principle Narad Muni used with Valmiki Rishi, who earlier was known as Ratnakar dacoit. So Narad Muni told him that you have to stop this. He wouldn't listen. Anyways, long story short, there also the saint gave him, the great sage Narad Muni gave him the holy name. And that too, Narad Muni realized that he cannot understand instructions. And if I give him the holy name, now in the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada writes that in order to be able to chant the Lord's holy name, one should have worshipped Lord Vasudeva for many lifetimes. Otherwise, everybody could be chanting since it is so easy. So the name can only be present on the tongue of a person who has worshipped Lord Krishna for many lifetimes. So therefore, Narada realized he won't be able to chant the name also. He's so sinful. So the only thing that he used to relate with is Mara. He used to kill people. He was a murderer. He said, you chant Mara, 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 Mara. That way, he started chanting Ram in this way, and he got so purified. He went on to become the great sage Valmiki, and then went on to write the biography of one of the main incarnations of the Lord, that is Lord Ramachandra, and also took part in his Leela. So this is just to show the potency of the holy name. In Kali Yuga, nothing else will work. Only the chanting of the Lord's holy names. Srila Prabhupada was asked many times, Prabhupada, how did you do this in such a short time? And Prabhupada would always say, the secret is in the bead bag. Prabhupada would say, I went to the US, I just chanted Hare Krishna, and that's it. That's everything just manifested. When he's writing a poem, when he reaches Boston, he's writing that Krishna, my dear Lord, I do not know why you have brought me here. I have no qualification. One thing only I have, and that is complete faith in your holy name. And that is the weapon Srila Prabhupada used when he went to the United States when there was hippie revolution. People were half conscious, sometimes fully unconscious, and on drugs all the time. And Prabhupada would just sing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When that transcendental vibration entered their heart, they got purified. Then they became receptive to the philosophy. And no wonder Prabhupada said that our main weapon is Kirtan and Prasad, because for these two, one need not understand the language. Holy name, if you chant loudly, people will have to hear. And then Prasad, they will eat. Everyone has to eat. These are our two main weapons, Prabhupada said. And always he managed whenever devotees would come up with different ideas. Let's do dramas, let's do this show, that show. Prabhupada said, no, our two main weapons are Kirtan and Prasad. So many years back, Pankajangri Prabhu from Mayapur had come here, and I took him to one or two programs in Mumbai, and he was asking about the programs that we were doing. And one program I had started around 5 years ago was it's called Liberation by Sound, and where we do some bhajans and then a lot of Hare Krishna chanting, small talk also. Then we give prasad in the end. So he asked, how do we do it? And I said, this is how we are doing it. He said, yes, any program where these two things are done, where there is kirtan and prasadam distribution, that preaching program has to become successful. It will be a success. So we see in the case of Ajamil also, this chapter, this whole episode is just full of the glories of the holy name. He lived a very sinful life. In the childhood, he had performed some devotional service, but after coming in association of that prostitute, he gave it all up, and he spent the rest of his life committing sinful activities. There's not a single activity, sinful activity that he was not involved in. Murdering, cheating, stealing, gambling, everything. Although he was a pure Brahmana. The Yamadutas later on mention his qualities. He was gentle, pure, not frivolous, austere, respectful. You name it, and he had all those divine qualities. But this is the power of association. Coming in association with a low-class person and then bringing a prostitute home, he spoiled his entire life. But there we see the practical demonstration of the principles of the Gita. Whatever Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad Gita, those same principles are exemplified through the lives of great souls in Bhagavatam. Wherever Gita ends, Bhagavat begins. So in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna has mentioned Neha Vikramanashvasti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swalpamapi Yasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. That in this endeavor, in devotional service, there is no loss or diminution, and any little advancement done on this path will protect you from the greatest dangers in life. And Ajamil's case is a perfect example of that. He had done something in his childhood, but then he lost it. He deviated. But Krishna, one of the 64 primary qualities of Krishna, which is our only hope, that he's grateful. He's always going to remember whatever little service we have rendered, and he magnifies it. He never forgets that. Once we establish our connection with Krishna, we should know it will never end. We might forget him, he will not. In the case of Gajendra, we see he performed some devotional life in the past life, but next life when he became an elephant, the Lord reminded him all that he had learned, and then that he could offer as prayers. So Ajamila also, Krishna was always planning to get him back to the right path. And therefore it is mentioned, he had one child after another from that prostitute. And it was Krishna who was thinking that he has spoiled his entire life. How do I help him? The Lord is always witnessing all our activities as Paramatma. So it was the Lord who inspired him from within to name his son Narayan, his last son, because the Lord was thinking anyone is more attached to the youngest child in the family. Most people, their life revolves around the youngest child in the family. So he would be very attached to him. So let me inspire him to name his son Narayan. That way, at least unconsciously, indirectly, he'll keep chanting my name. So wherever nothing else works, only the name will work. It is like fire. Name acts like fire. If a child who doesn't know the power of fire, if he puts his hand in fire, he also gets burned. Someone who knows the power of fire also gets burned. Somebody who is sleeping and he puts his hand in fire, he also gets burned. Somebody puts his hand unconsciously, also gets burned. So that is the name. Whether somebody chants knowingly, unknowingly, directly, indirectly, attentively, intentively, in any state, will have all his sinful reactions burnt to ashes, as this particular purport Srila Prabhupada mentions. And somewhere it is also mentioned that when Ajamil was away, one saint came to his house, his wife, his prostitute wife was there. She served some nice food to this sadhu, and he felt compassionate seeing the overall situation of the house. And he only told her that when your next child is born, name him Narayan. So different millenniums, these stories happen in different ways. Some details may vary, but the essential thing is his son was named Narayan. And every now and then Ajamil would call out, Narayan, come here. Narayan, eat your food. Narayan, drink this water. Narayan, come sit next to me. Narayan, let's go and play. So that way he kept on chanting the Lord's name. And like this, 88 years of his life had passed. He didn't realize. And amazingly, at the age of 88, his youngest child was 10 years old. So, as per the nature of this world, the most powerful destructive force is the time, called Kala factor. And Kala humbles everyone. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, anyone who is in the material world has nothing to be proud of. If somebody is proud of beauty, just wait just for a few more years. If somebody is proud of wealth, fame, knowledge, sensory power, physical strength, body, it's just a matter of time. Kala humbles everyone. There have been many, many conquerors of the world, many, many great rulers. But then where are they now? All we have is simply a list of names. So Ajamil also didn't realize, and he's lying down on his deathbed, his last moments. And suddenly he sees in that pitch dark room 3 very scary people, some deformed faces and noose on their shoulders. They enter and they're trying to snatch him out of his body. And whenever a person is fearful, 2 things happen. He calls out to the person who is closest to him, I mean physically, and he also remembers the person whom he loves the most. So it was Narayan only, and Narayan, his youngest child, was playing close by. Immediately he called out, Narayan, although Narayan is simply a child. And as soon as he did that, the whole room in which he was sleeping, and with Yamadutas by his side, messengers of Yamaraj, it just lit up completely because of the effulgence of 4 very, very powerful personalities, the Vishnu Dutas, the messengers of Lord Vishnu. And later they hear from their master also, the Yamadutas from Yamaraj, that how the servants of Lord Narayan, they always keep wandering everywhere, trying to give protection to the Lord's devotees. So as soon as they appear, suddenly the Yamadutas get the shock of their life, because never ever before this they had been stopped like this. They had some sort of false ego also, because they thought Yamaraj was the supreme and Yamaraj just orders, go and bring that soul, go and bring that person. They would just go and the person would get scared. They would just pull the soul out of the body. And that was a regular affair for them. But for the first time, they were forbidden, they were stopped, and they felt disturbed. And of course, then the conversation goes on, which will, I think, be discussed in the next sessions by whoever gives the classes. But essentially, after this episode, the whole episode gets over, and Yamaraj also instructs them. Since then, it is said that the Yamadutas now, they get very scared of a Lord's devotee. Yamaraj instructed them that if ever you see a devotee, what to speak of going close to them, just offer obeisances from a distance and just run, because they are not under our jurisdiction. They are totally controlled by the Lord. And there is a story in the Puranas, I read somewhere, where the Yamadutas were traveling and they had to bring a soul back to Yamaloka. It was his time. And this person who was supposed to leave his body was lying on deathbed. And outside his house in the courtyard. And suddenly there was an eagle, and that eagle dropped. You know, the eagles fly high and they can drop their thing anywhere. So it just landed on his forehead. So the Yamadutas were coming close and then suddenly see this white thing on this person's forehead. So they thought it was a tilak. Oh, then say, oh, this seems to be a Vaishnava, just run. They just ran away. They couldn't take that soul away. So therefore this tilak and kanti mala, these are very important. Wherever they see, these are the symptoms, these are the signs of a devotee. These two lines represent the two lotus feet, and there is tulasi, then there is kanti mala, tulasi mala. So it's important to wear them. And sometimes we have seen in India also that a person who is about to leave, people try and put tulsi on their leaf. They try to put tulsi mala around their neck. They try to put tilak on his forehead. Because when they see these symptoms, they recognize that person, that soul, as a Vaishnava, as a devotee. And therefore they don't come closer. So the safest position in the entire creation is that of a devotee of the Lord. The Lord may punish the devotee for his wrongdoings, but he will never let anyone else touch his devotees. As he has promised in the Bhagavad Gita, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee will never perish. So Krishna may try and rectify a devotee who has committed mistakes, but he will never ever let anyone else touch his devotee, however sinful the person may be. Like a Jamil, he had performed devotional service, he didn't let the Yamadutas touch him. Similarly, this is our greatest hope. It's like a mother. Now, mother, when she sees her child is committing mischief, now she may shout at him, she may scold him, she may give him some punishment, but would she ever let somebody else do the same to her child? Never. So if this is the case with the mother, like in the case of Dhruv Maharaj, that episode it is mentioned, then the love of, or the, what is that word? Vatsalya, or the love, just like the selfless love mother has for the child. So multiply that compassion that a mother has for her child by infinity. That is the compassion that Krishna has for his devotees. That is the kind of love that he has for devotees. So Krishna has rightly promised, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, my devotee will never perish. He promised Mother Kunti before the Kurukshetra war that he would bring all her 5 children back to her alive. And he lived up to his promise. he has promised my devotee will never perish. In order to save his dear devotee, Arjuna, Krishna broke his own vow, apparently. When Bhishma was shooting arrows at Arjuna, Arjuna's life was in danger. Krishna got off the chariot and he ran towards Bhishma with a chariot wheel in his hands. So, in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, we see when it comes to a devotee, although Krishna likes to follow all the rules and regulations of the material world, though he's not bound by them, but when it comes to his devotees, he can break all the rules, he can make new rules. So many times we have heard the Lord aligning with Brahma's benedictions given to the demons. He tries to respect them as much as he can. But in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, we see Hiranyakashipu's relative, her name was Holika. Now she had received a boon from Lord Brahma that fire would not be able to harm her. She could be sitting in fire and nothing would happen to her. And Hiranyakashipu, after trying everything to kill Prahlad, he realized it wasn't working. So he remembered his sister, I think, Holika. I forgot the relationship between the two. And he said, you sit with Prahlad in fire. And as per the benediction, you will not burn, but he will be burned to ashes. He will die. And she sat. Now this was benediction. But when the fire subsided, it was seen that Prahlad was still sitting happily and Holika had perished. So this is the affection of the Lord for his devotee. And what kind of a devotee? Anyone who has begun his journey, even if it's just like 1 day old, as soon as a person begins his journey in Krishna consciousness, he immediately comes under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Then the Lord takes charge of his life. The Lord is kind, he's compassionate. So he's already declared in the Bhagavad Gita, he's more inclined towards his devotee, although he's equal to everyone. So even though Narayana, Ajamil did not chant to glorify the Lord, nevertheless, the chanting was sufficient to cleanse him of all sinful activities. As soon as the Vishnu Dutas heard their master's name being chanted, they immediately came. So, because Ajamila was very attached to his son, and there was a tradition which is vanishing now, where people would name their children after God, Govind or Vishnu or Narayan, like that. So the whole point was that at least indirectly they would keep remembering the Lord, but that tradition is going away now. Nowadays people like to keep names which are as per the present trend, fashion. So that's like we are already carrying 50 kg on our head, and then by our activities we are adding every day 10 more, 10 more, 10 more. That means we are already carrying, people are carrying a big burden of karma on their heads, and they keep adding more and more by not allowing the Lord's presence in their life. The Lord is the abode of auspiciousness. Wherever he enters, wherever he is remembered. Om apavitraha pavitro va sarvavastham gotopi va yah smared pundari kaksham sabahya abhyantara shuchihi. That whenever, whether pure, whether impure, or having passed through all situations in life, one quickly becomes cleansed. As soon as one remembers the lotus-eyed Lord, that is Sri Krishna. So the goal has to be how we can remember the Lord every moment. But the way things are going, people are making every effort to forget him. And that's why sometimes people ask, what about those people who have no access to God? What have they done? What about their good fortune? So the simple example, suppose somebody is in a prison and the government is sending a counselor to help him. Government is sending food. But every time the food is sent, the prisoner refuses. Every time a counselor is sent to help him reform himself, he refuses. Then what happens after some time? The government stops sending. Similarly, people who show by their actions that they don't want to have anything to do with God, then as Krishna has promised in the Gita, "Ye yatham mam prapadyante tam satyah bhajamyam," as you approach me, I reward you accordingly. So someone who wants to forget him, the Lord creates facilities accordingly. Somebody who wants to remember him, the Lord creates facilities according to him, according to his desire. So ultimately, everything boils down to the desire. And the goal of all the rules and regulations, as Rupa Goswami used to cultivate, is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. And the most powerful way in this regard to do this, to accomplish this, is the chanting of the Lord's holy name. Because even if we do it inattentively, unknowingly, the result will be the same. Because Ajamil, although he chanted once, that too indicating something else than the Supreme Lord Narayan, but in the end, the result that he received was 100%. So that is the power of the holy name. We may begin by some unconscious, subconscious chanting of the holy name, or just for the sake of music, singing, but eventually the result that we'll receive will be 100% by the Lord's grace. In Vrindavan, they sing very beautiful bhajan, which says, Yugal Naam Shruti Sar Hai. Yugal Naam means the name of Radha Krishna. Shruti means the Vedas, the scriptures they're referring to. And Sar means the essence. So there are so many scriptures. There are Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Mahabharata, Vedanta Sutra, Ramayana. So this verse, this bhajan literally means Yugal Naam Shruti Sar Hai. Just like the essence of yogurt or curd is butter. When you churn yogurt, what comes out as the essence is butter. Similarly, when we churn all the scriptures, all the scriptural knowledge, the essence that comes out is that the name of Radha Krishna is everything. So if one is chanting, not able to do anything else, his life is perfect, is spiritually perfect. But if somebody is doing everything else but not chanting, then it's incomplete. And what bigger proof we want than the Lord himself, Radha Krishna coming together as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years back. And he again and again recommended, because he is Krishna who has come as his own devotee to teach us what to do, what not to do. And throughout his life, through his own example, through the examples of devotees like Srila Haridas Thakur and many other devotees, what did he do? What did he engage in with them? Simply chanting of the Lord's holy names, chanting the Mahamantra. So if we simply accept this gift Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, we will be blessed. Now, Ajamil chanted only one name, that too inattentively, and look at the result that he got in the end. He went back to the spiritual world in the same lifetime. Now, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra has 16 names of Krishna and Radharani. Total, there are 16 names. And that too, if we do it properly with intention and attentively, as much as we could. As I said, in spiritual life, the success comes. Result is not that important. Effort is most important. We get marks from Krishna for effort. And if we try to chant attentively, in one mantra itself, there are 16 names, how blessed we would be. In this one lifetime, we could just perfect our life. So once we start this journey, the first step has to be ours. Then rest Krishna will pull us towards him, to the destination. And the most powerful way is chanting. Out of all the 9 limbs of Bhakti, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, chanting is the supreme. And once we learn to give exclusive attention and prioritize this one activity, everything else in spiritual life will follow. Everything, our mind control, our sense control, our spiritual life, everything will be created simply if we try to chant and hear the holy names. And that is the sum and substance of this entire chapter, which is like the hidden jewel in the chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. The essence is spoken in this particular chapter. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for this very, very beautiful class. It enlightened us, it opened our eyes, how important it is to go forward with our chanting, our reading. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. May I leave now, or is there anything else?
I would see if there are any questions or hand raised.
Yeah. Okay.
Devotees, if anyone have any questions or comments, they can speak now. Yeah, there is one question in the chat. Babu Gopal is asking, Narada Muni asked, is his family ready to take his sins? Go and ask.
That's not a question, I think.
He just answered while you were talking.
Comment, yeah. Somebody is raising a hand.
Yeah.
He raised.
You can please ask your question.
Ji.
Vandana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna everybody. Prabhuji, like when I was hearing this, like we've just done Bhagavad Gita in Bhakti Shastri. So in that, in the verse 18.67, it was told that this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, not to the one who is envious of me. This is what Krishna says. So Prabhuji, like when Srila, it's okay if I'm asking this question, it's a bit interrelated. So,
right.
But Srila Prabhupada, he went to US and he gave Harinam to these people. And in fact, Abhi, you also just said that he gave the Harinam first, and after hearing that, those people, they became receptible.
Right.
So, is it like, could it be that they also must have had that desire somewhere, deep down desire somewhere, that Lord Krishna must have sent a guru like Srila Prabhupada to them so many years back?
Okay. So I'll answer it in two ways. In his book, Nectarian Ocean of the Holy Name, His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj has clarified this. He said this injunction specifically refers to initiation. A person who doesn't have faith in the holy name, they should not be initiated.
Okay.
One. Secondly, this statement has been made by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. This should not be explained to those who are envious or sinful or whatever.
Yes, Prabhuji.
This is Krishna's statement, and Krishna is strict.
Yes, Prabhuji.
But his devotees, they are more compassionate than Krishna. And they go out of their way, even at the cost of their personal comforts, even at the risk of being ridiculed, rejected, taunted at. They feel compassion and they go out of their way to share this knowledge with the hope that people might accept. They don't mind their personal inconveniences. So it's simply a manifestation of the Lord's, the devotee's mercy. And that is why in the same chapter, Krishna says, one who shares this knowledge with devotees, he becomes very dear.
Dear to me.
There's no one more dear to me than that person.
More dear, yes.
Potentially everyone is a devotee, and that's how a pure devotee sees.
Yes.
Krishna has said that, Krishna says that one who shares this knowledge with my devotees is very dear to me. There's no one more dearer to me than that person. So the pure devotee standard is, according to Rupa Goswami, he sees everyone as a devotee. So he's sharing. Plus, he also understands, okay, externally, like as a mother, you might have to make certain rules for your children externally. But internally, what is your heart? You want your children to be happy. You want your children to be nicely taken care of.
Yes, well taken care of.
And you love them externally, but you might have to put certain rules. But that is just the situational thing. But internally, your heart is there for your children. Similarly, Krishna as God, he has to make these statements strictly. But in his heart, his greatest headache, Srila Prabhupada said, is that he's longing for all his children who have left him to come back. And therefore, a devotee of the Lord, understanding the Lord's heart, he goes out of his way and tries to bring them back. And that is why anybody who shares this message with others becomes very dear to the Lord. So we have to understand Krishna's heart. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So we should keep going, like, whenever like your program, somebody's program is there, we should keep calling, inviting people, not get tired even if they don't want to respond.
That is a service which is most dear to Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji.
I'm telling you, I don't remember the exact verse, but I'm giving you the translation. There is a verse in the Agni Purana.
Okay.
I read it some time back. He says, now this will be very hope-giving. This will inspire us to connect others. Now, there are countless holy places within the universe, right?
Yes.
Our Earth is just a small thing, small planet. There are countless. So what can you not achieve by visiting the holy places? It is said when you visit a holy place, your sins are washed away. You get the association of the Lord. You can come so close to the Lord, and the amount of spiritual advancement you can make in a day could be like equal to 10 years in a city like Mumbai.
Yes,
so the results of traveling to all the holy places, this verse is saying, and the results of studying all the Vedic scriptures, they are called desire trees. Whatever desires you have can be fulfilled if you study the scriptures. The results of traveling to all the holy places, the result of performing all kinds of rituals mentioned in the scriptures, which are also desire fulfilling. You can have elevation to the heavenly planets. You can even go beyond that also. So the result of studying all the scriptures, the result of performing all kinds of Vedic rituals, the result of performing all kinds of tapasya, which is again desire fulfilling. Anything you could achieve by the power of tapasya. We have read in Bhagavatam what all people achieved.
Yes, by performing sacrifice.
So the result of performing all kinds of charity.
Yes, austerity.
All kinds of charity, yajna, dan, dharam, tapasya, traveling to all the holy places, performing all kinds of rituals.
Absolutely.
And studying all the Vedic literatures. The result of all of this combined, we get by connecting simply one person to Krishna.
Oh.
This is in the Agni Purana. Simply by connecting one person with the Lord, we get the benefit of all of this. You can imagine how dear this activity must be to Krishna. So this is a verse from the scriptures. So one person you connect and you get the benefit of doing all this, all combined together. Otherwise, how will the mission run?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for clarifying everything.
Hare Krishna. Somebody else has also raised hand.
Thank you. Yes, Mother. Anita Mataji, you can go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams. Very nice class, Prabhuji, with all the pastimes and all. Prabhuji, my question is, like you were saying, like Yamadutas, when they come, if they see the tilak and the kantimala, which is on the body, then they will think and stand aside. So my question is, like, after the soul has left the body, then how this tilak and kantimala will work on the physical body which is lying over there?
No, I was saying before the person has left, that's what I have seen. People putting tilak and tulsi and kantimala. I don't know after that if they do. So if they do, then we need to just check with the people who are well versed with this. But I've seen that before the soul is departing, they put tulsi, and sometimes we have seen even the gurus chanting the holy name into their ears, putting tilak like that. In any case, for a devotee, it doesn't matter how he dies, where he dies. That in the 8th chapter of the Gita, Krishna has made it very clear. But I'm just talking about we don't have to go into technicalities so much. The goal is to be a devotee and make others devotee, and these things do help. So I gave that story from the Purana, and that which the Yamaduta saw. Oh, there is a tilak. Now, these stories from Puranas are there to give us hope that even a semblance, even if there is a reflection of a devotee in somebody, even that person gets saved. So technicalities, I think they're not that important.
Okay.
The stress was on the point that how even if somebody is faking it, or somebody is just giving a reflection or a semblance of a devotee, even that can save a person. What to speak of this? There are stories in the Puranas where people have just when a person simply in his own life he didn't, but last moment he just had a desire that all right, at least now let me start chanting, and then he left. But that desire itself, the Vishnu Dutas intervened, and he didn't go to hell, although he had lived a sinful life. The desire itself is very important.
Okay. Okay, so we don't know like about after the soul has left the body, if they put the tulsi on the body, we don't know how it will reflect on them. It's like that, Prabhuji.
I have not seen anybody doing that. So, but I have seen people before they come to know they are about to depart. So people put some tulsi, they put the kanthi mala on them, they put tilak like that. After that, it could simply be like I have seen sometimes devotee had passed away in Vrindavan, and people, even after that, he was put into samadhi, the sannyasi, and they put tilak, fresh tilak on him, and phool mala. So for a devotee case, it's different, and I've seen this in devotees only. And anyways, when a devotee is passing away, it doesn't matter if you put it before or after.
Okay.
Those who are
Thank you.
not devotees, those who are not devotees, I've not seen them doing it at all. But devotees, you have to just check with them what bhav they have behind doing this. The devotees are transcendental, so it's their bhav. A devotee, if he can be decorated with these ornaments, what's wrong with that? Even if the soul has passed away, because the devotee's body is sacred. So even in non-devotee world, people decorate a person who's passed away with this favorite jewelry and favorite garments they put on him. So there's no harm even if the soul has passed away, devotee's body is decorated with tilak and tulsi mala.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Anyone else?
Yes, Prabhuji. Sukaka Krishna Prabhu, you can go ahead with the question.
Prabhuji, Nityanand Charan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, accept my humble obeisances. Prabhuji, this is related that to get out of the sinful activities, that Ado Sadhu Shraddha Tada Sadhu Snaka Bhajana Kriya, the Anartha and Nivritti stage is the difficult stage. See, once the Nishtha comes, you will be progressing fast. Can you give some techniques how to, that Nambabad stage, how to, what are the little techniques, because you are doing Brahmacharya and Chopadi temple is the best. So I want some guidance from that. How the chanting you can make it a little better to somehow to clean it.
I think this stage, Anartha Nivritti stage, is the longest stage. It takes time. As Rupa Goswami says, on this path, there are 3 things that we need. And that is enthusiasm, determination, but along with that, we also need patience. But I also mentioned that on this path, we get marks, not for the results, but for trying our best. Like once one devotee in our temple, he asked a question from Radhanath Maharaj after a Bhagavatam class, that, I have so many responsibilities now. I am a doctor and I have to chant, I have family. So I see that I'm not able to chant as attentively as I used to. Maharaj gave a very nice answer. He says, we are not chanting, we are not trying to control the holy name. We are chanting to please Krishna. And if you're taking responsibility in spiritual life, in temple, or you are doing other services, and that's what natural mind might wonder, but maybe Krishna is more pleased with you right now than he was when you were chanting earlier, with more attentiveness. It's all about Krishna's pleasure. So whenever we sit down to chant, the only thing within our mind should be, as Srila Prabhupada gave very simple formula. Jananimas Prabhu said the same thing when he came to Chapati. He said, just chant and hear. You don't need to do anything else. Just chant and hear. And if we simply try to follow that instruction, then whether we are able to chant attentively as much as we want or not, just because we are trying to sincerely follow, Krishna will send his grace, and that grace will help us advance. That grace will help us advance towards the stage of Nishtha. Because it is, first thing we have to forget is that we can't reach those stages. We can only try our best. And when Krishna is pleased with our efforts, he will pick us up one stage at a time. So our effort has to be try our best to follow whatever instructions we have received from our spiritual master. Chanting the holy names, studying Srila Prabhupada's books, especially Bhagavatam. You can simply give attention to these two activities. Study Bhagavatam and chant the holy names as much as you can. These two things are enough to lead us to perfectional stage of life in no time. Like Rupa Goswami mentions 5 activities, which are so potent that even a neophyte can come to the bhav stage in no time. And if you have a little connection to one of these 5, deity worship, residing in a holy place, Vaishnav Seva, Srimad Bhagavatam, and chanting the holy names. So whichever activities out of these 5 you are most attracted to, stick to that and try to intensify. Ultimately, Krishna reciprocates with the intensity of our desire. So if we are casually doing our devotional practices and the results are minimal, the progress is very slow. But if we are very intense, exclusive attention when we are sitting for our chanting, then progress will be easy. And the easiest way is chanting only. Everything else is just to assist in our chanting. So I would say exclusively try to focus on the chanting when you are chanting. Chant more. 16 rounds is just minimum. The more we chant, the more attentively we chant. And the more we chant, the more we advance. This is just a way of showing Krishna that we want that grace. And ultimately, Krishna also understands your desire. And
One
he
thing,
also...
Chopati temple, they are told that chant not 16, at least 4 more. Those who are temple, residing in temple, for them 16, but they're doing service whole day. For outsiders?
No, nothing. We have not said anything like that.
Okay.
There are no rules as such. Nothing
Minimum
like that.
for 20. Okay.
16 is that much. That's all. Rest, there are no rules. Just 16 and follow 4 principles. That's all. We have not put any number on 20, 25 or like that. Nothing like that. Because Radhanath Maharaj once said, he said, even if you chant your 16 properly, that is perfect. But then he also says 16 is minimum. So if you can chant more, you should chant more. If somebody doesn't have responsibility that much, then the best is to chant. Like Srila Prabhupada said, if you read his letters, he would always tell them, oh, now you're in a hospital bed, you have all the time, chant more, and perfect your life in this very lifetime itself. So Prabhupada, if you see, always his priority was chanting, chant more. Because he himself had that faith in the holy name. I don't know whether this statement is found, but many times devotees have quoted it. We have to find the reference where Prabhupada is saying 99% of our spiritual advancement depends on chanting. Rest, everything else is 1%. So chanting is the key. And you can understand from Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come. What did he do? He is Krishna coming to teach by his own example. What did he do his whole life? Chanted. He just chanted. And that's the gift he came to give. So chanting is the key. And if you chant attentively, chant properly, everything else will follow. And even if it takes this entire lifetime, it's worth it to get rid of that anartha nivritti stage. And most importantly, this is more important, even if you are not 100% pure, we will receive the mercy by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is merciful. So we have to forget, first of all, that we can become perfect on our own. It is only the grace that will help us. And the grace will come to the degree we sincerely try our best to accept the gift that Mahaprabhu has given. We don't have to, like Srila Prabhupada told his disciples, now all of you should become 100% pure. Then you will go back to Goloka in this lifetime. So everybody was like mouth open looking at him. 100. Prabhupada said, all right, 75%. Again, they were looking. He said, all right, 50%. Again, they were like 50% pure. Prabhupada said, all right, even if you can't do that, just hold on to my dhoti, because I have a key to the back door of Vaikuntha. So even if we don't become 100% pure, our success is that we are connected to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada has a very, very, very special confidential position in the Lord's abode, Golok Vrindavan. Otherwise, it takes a great personality to say this, that I have a key to the back door of Vaikuntha. Even if you're not thoroughly purified, I will take you. So only a person who is very confidential can do that for some. Like sometimes during festivals, there's a big crowd and all the gates are closed, but somebody who's a confidential person from inside the temple can take you from here and there and give you entry and make you stand right in front of the altar. Kadambakanan Maharaj, he made a very important point here. Our greatest blessing is that we are connected to Prabhupada. So he made a very important point. He said, one day we'll all go back and we'll have to stand at the door of Golok Vrindavan. And then what? We would be stopped by the doorkeeper. Oh no, you have so much karma left, you can't enter. And the other guard will say, no, but he's Prabhupada's man. Oh, Prabhupada's man, let him go. Like that. So that is the key. Our hope is that we have that connection with Srila Prabhupada, who is supposed to be the commander-in-chief of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is our greatest hope. That's why all we have to do is just stay in the boat of ISKCON, stay in the association of devotees, stay in the boat of Srila Prabhupada's instructions, our Guru's instructions, and success will come, even if you're not 100% pure. So let's forget that. Simply, let's focus on simply trying to execute devotional service to the best of our capacity, and then depending on Krishna. All right. Anything else?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have some more time, Prabhu, to take one more question or something?
I do, yes.
Okay, I request Pralalan Prabhuji, you can
Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Ask your question.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And my Dandavat to Nityanand Charan Prabhu. My question is always, I always read Ajamila Akhyan and extrapolated my thinking about the woman apart from the Ajamil himself. This woman was equally or even more fallen than Ajamil. And she was so kind to those Vaishnavas who came. And, when Ajamil was not there, this is a story I hear. And she did offer some service to those pure Vaishnavas who gave this the advice to, name the child as Narayan. So she must have also called her son so many times as Narayan, come here, come Narayan, do this like that. So I always wonder whether any acharyas or anywhere else, what happened to her before I myself feel that she was more qualified than Ajamil to
I have not read anything about it, but the reason she served that Vaishnava at home, because this is a story from the previous yugas, where even if people were sinful, they knew dharma and they would follow. Like in the case of Dhruva Maharaj. What is Suruchi? The stepmother telling Dhruva that if you want to sit on the lap of your father, you have to go and worship the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, and if he's pleased with you, he may give you birth in my womb. You become my son. So even in that moment, she's envious, she's angry, but she knows this right thing, that it is Lord Vishnu who needs to be pleased if somebody wants something greater, something higher in life. So that was the kind of culture that time, that if a Vaishnava comes, okay, I have to serve. It may not happen today. So there is no reference as such. But Ajamil's case, one of the main reasons Ajamil's case, I did mention that he had performed some devotional service in his childhood. And that became the root cause of his deliverance in future. The Lord remembered that, and he was always planning for his welfare. As far as the prostitute, that's not the focus, because Shukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, who has 7 days and 7 nights only. So he had to choose the most important part. So he didn't go into details. Like sometimes people ask me, okay, Krishna had so many children in Dwarka, but we don't hear much about the children. I said, Shukadeva Goswami has spoken only 7 days, 7 nights. He had to choose the most important episodes. That was important from his point of view. He had to choose 18,000 verses from crores of verses from histories of different universes. So the essential part is this. And of course, maybe in future, sometime someone may mention, or you might find in some, but that's not important. I think the message is the more important. How Ajamil, through the chanting, delivered himself. And unconsciously he chanted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hari.
Thank you for that. Yes, Prabhuji. If there are no questions or comments, we can end the call here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Share and
We
let
want
us
to say
hear.
goodbye to you.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dandavat pranam. My humble obeisance.
Hare Krishna, Gauranga, Nityananda.